Just wanted to do a video, maybe this is feedback to Tony and Chelsea Northrup regarding the video that they uploaded about the Canon 5D Mark IV and its video quality test that they've done. So this is how I'm seeing it from my point of view. And I'm going to go full screen and I'm going to talk about what I see the differences and where I think is better. So I'm going to set this things. If I say 4K, I'm not getting 4K because this isn't a 4K monitor. I'm at 1440, so I'm going to put it at its native best resolution, which I'm getting on my computer. It should make absolutely no difference what I'm seeing. So this is what
video quality test, and
so here we're doing the GH4 A7R Mark II and Canon 5D Mark IV. 5D Mark IV is saying is about $3,500. GH4 is under $1,000 now, so it's almost 4 times more expensive. And are you getting 4 times better quality is what I'm kind of saying. Straight off, at a fairly easy ISO setting here, what he's saying is also put it at an auto white balance. Is the colours are substantially different. The GH4, I would say, is probably pretty close to what I think it should look like. You've got artificial light coming down, and I think that's giving a natural colour over the pool table, and the balls look about the right colour. Tony looks like he's got a little bit of a suntan going on. I can't quite tell if his shirt is white or very light blue. But otherwise, I would say that's okay. The Sony, wow, this is orange, so where the heck it's getting its white balance information, I don't know. This whole, I'm guessing this is normally like a grey pool table, is orange, and man, the blown out highlights are like totally blown out. Look at the ball, totally blown out. GH4, you've got so much more information on the simple white ball. But again, the background's a little bit brighter. But I wouldn't choose the A7R for its white balance settings, or maybe it's its dynamic range, or however it's set up its exposure. He looks like he should be in the Simpsons episode, considering how orange he is there. And then the Canon 5D Mark IV, Tony, are you massively sunburnt? Whatever it's doing with your skin tones, it is looking terrible. You also look like you've got a big red dot right in the, you do have a little bit of red dot right in the middle of your head, but there you look properly sunburnt, but like you need some suntan cream going on there. Here you look like you've put on way too much fake tan, and here you look like you're a little bit purple. So it just seems like all of them are colour. This is a difficult lighting situation, artificial lighting, but I would say the GH4 is giving me the best skin tones. So therefore, I'd probably say the best white balance. And in terms of the dynamic range, I would say it's even better than the Canon. So that's at ISO 800 and cleanless. So at this, where I've frozen it, I can see lines, pixels and stuff on the Canon. The Sony looks a bit better and the GH4 looks a bit better, so already the Canons look very good. If we start playing,
we're at ISO 800.
You see some little bits of movement, It's all roughly the same. In fact, but even actually here, I would say this looks a little bit more. There's a bit more action going on in the actual video clips.
Image quality is not the most important thing when you're looking at a video camera. There's people who produce at least 3 videos per example. It's been out for 2.5 max that tilt.
So then he talks about some of its layout and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, gets to a higher ISO.
Bring on. Huge usability.
Okay, so here, ISO 3200. Again, if you look at DxO Mark, they're saying the Panasonic's dynamic range is through the floor. It should be rubbish. This should almost be like a black and white image of blown out highlights and unrecoverable darks. But I would say it's looking just as good as what it was when it was at ISO 800. Again, in terms of white balance, the Canon and the Panasonic are pretty similar, but Tony looks totally sunburnt in the 5D Mark IV. Maybe it's just a case of bringing down the saturation, because the red ball does look ultra red, and the Panasonic just seems a little bit more actual red instead of super duper red. But the dynamic range again, the white ball here looking good. Here, total blown out highlights. And the Sony again looking like an Oompa Loompa. Okay, now when we start moving it, you start seeing the grain.
The file sizes are...
Oh, hold on. Are ridiculous. Ooh, 26 gigabytes. What was that?
Are like 5 times bigger.
5 times bigger.
So that's weird.
So what are you gaining from
It's
it?
also recording in a 2096 wide proper 4K format instead of the Ultra HD, which has become standard for places like YouTube. So you end up cropping the sides off, which is just a little bit of unnecessary. That the reason you can't record
So for me, I would say that there's lots of smaller noise grain on the Canon.
4K through the HDMI isn't some kind of conspiracy. It's because the engineers didn't.
Yeah, no. If I look over here on the Canon, it's not holding up as well as the GH4. Almost to the point where I'm thinking, Tony, have you definitely got them all in the same ISO setting? And are you sure you haven't got this swapped around? The GH4 should be crumbling here in comparison to these multiple £1,000 newer full frame cameras compared to this micro 4/3 sensor, 2 years old, under £1,000 camera sensor.
Access to a modern HDMI processing chip. They only had access to a very old processing chip at the engineering time.
So again, it's very, very, they're so similar just now.
All that they do. Weird, right?
Bad shot, Tony, bad shot. Okay, next bit.
Another big usability problem for the Canon.
Okay, so here, the GH4 is definitely crumbling. 12,000 ISO in video. Dynamic range is still looking good. So it's not as bright as the Sony, but I would say its white balance is still better. I would say, but at the still image shot here, the Canon looks terrible. That is an explosions of colour going on there compared to, it looks like the Panasonic has used some in-camera noise reduction, so it's given it a bit of a softer image. But I would go for that softer image other than this psychedelic pattern that's going on over on the Canon.
Canon is it has a pretty huge.
So yeah, the Canon's definitely, I would say, sharper. But in the shadowed areas, it's horrific.
Crop factor.
That
depends
is
on exactly
mental.
the format that you're playing back in.
So anyway, that's how I'm seeing it from my point of view. At this stage, being a Panasonic GH4 and GX8 user, I'm definitely not being motivated to upgrade to a Canon 5D Mark IV, where my 5D Mark II, which I've got behind me over there, is still doing absolutely fine, but in terms of noise, that is pretty bad. And the Canon 5D Mark IV is not impressing me in this shot, unless Tony has made a total mistake. That's pretty bad. That's not very impressive, Canon. Ugh. What do you think? Have you watched this video? I'll put a link to it down in the description box below. Cheers, bye bye.